Welcome to Timber&Terra. My name is Glenn, and this is my woodlot, or woods behind the house, I guess my backyard. See, the house is right there, not too far away. And this area here, I do have a management plan that was written about 10 years ago that I'm still trying to follow. This area here, that's actually the small area right in front of us, is technically denoted as spruce fir. But there's a fair amount of cedar, and just probably less than 200 feet that way is a stand that was marked for management for eastern white cedar. And there's a fair amount of cedar here, so I'm sort of managing this really for cedar. But as you can see here, if there are decent fir and spruce along the way, generally I'll leave those. My priority would be cedar #1 because it is harder to come by. It doesn't germinate as easily. Spruce would be second. Fir and good red maple. So what I consider more, there are occasional popple trees as well that I want to leave. But I've already done a fair amount of work here last year. I took a lot of red maple out and a fair amount of gray birch. But you can see like the gray birch there. So my priority here is to take out the gray birch. I know there are a couple of popple trees that I want to take out, but if there are nice popple trees that are straight, looks like a sound saw log, then I'll leave that. But if it's crowding out good cedar, I may take it. So that's sort of my methodology, and that's sort of what the management plan says for me to do. So in fact, most of what I'm going to cut, there's a section here, and it works out well how I have my roads laid out, because I have areas defined by where the road boundaries are, so I can work in that area and not forget, as opposed to just sort of randomly going out in the woods and cutting stuff and not knowing where to go next if it's, the following year. So there's a road here. That's the boundary of this section that I'm working at. There's the field, obviously, boundary over there. What I concentrated on mostly last year was stuff closer to the road, and I dragged it out to the road, and that's where I retrieved it with my trailer. But I know there are some of my target trees for removal, which would be the gray birch and popple, and a red maple if it's poor form or if it's crowding out something better. They're closer to the field, so it's actually going to work out better for me to drag them into the field than it would be to drag them into the woods road. So I wanted to give a brief overview of my property and where we're working today. So this red line here is my property boundary. There's the house, and this is the field we drove through to get here. And here is this tiny parcel of land that I'm working in. So this whole area from here, basically between these roads, and I should state these yellow, green, and red lines are all roads. This area here is all basically earmarked to manage for cedar. So I'm going to be doing a similar thing as I had been doing, which is taking down most trees that are interrupting the growth of cedar, but I'll leave any trees of good form, particularly if they're fir, spruce, an occasional red maple, and an occasional poplar. So here I am right next to the field, and here's some target trees, good examples. So the gray birch right there, just beyond these maples, those are going to come down. They are shedding some shade on cedar there, a cedar there, a cedar right there, as well as these two red maple. So these will become firewood. There's some pretty dense fir that I'll thin out. I won't do that now because I can do that anytime. That stuff I just cut and lay it on the ground. I don't need to retrieve it. Similar with these, that small fir there, I'm just going to take down. It's really not doing anything. The top of it is disfigured because it doesn't have any light, and it's running into other branches. So let's take down these 4 trees, and we'll go from there. Looking at these group of trees again, a couple things came to mind. One is that might be white birch because of the peeling bark, exfoliating bark, which gray birch does not do. So I'm guessing that might be white birch, but they're not of good form. They're still blocking light of more desirable trees. And the other thing, the challenge is with these two maples is how to fall them in a direction such that I can drag them out easily. So I want to drag them out that way, which ideally you'd sort of fall them in the exact opposite direction, but that would be falling right into the cedar. So what I think I'm going to do is a couple dead cedar there, red maple there, that'll shield that cedar beyond it. So I think I'm going to lay these down, knowing they're not going to fall to the ground, just sort of lay them into those trees there, and then I should basically be able to drag them out right where I'm standing. I think there's a rock, so I'll go to the left of that rock. And then once those are done, then I'll probably lay these birch down the same direction, and it'll be a little bit of an angle to pull them out this way. But anyhow, it's like a puzzle sometimes, a three-dimensional puzzle. How to fell things and how to drag them out without damaging other stuff. So I'm guessing I'm gonna probably sacrifice some of those first saplings as I drag those red maple across it. But sometimes they'll just sort of bend over and pop right back up. We'll see what happens. So these are the tops of the two red maples. There was a little bit of damage, this one that you saw spring back up. It's young, relatively young, although it's actually much older than it would look. One, you can tell by the bark is really rough. And it's been suppressed in light here for many years. It looks like only recently has it had a significant amount of light, judging by the growth of the last couple of years. But you can get a good estimate of the age of these by counting the whorls. So let's say there's 2 years up to here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this tree is probably 23 years old. The lifespan of a fir is only about 60 to 80 years. So even if this tree survives, it's not going to be very big before its natural death. What we'd rather see when you have a lot of light are these small ones here, where they have a significant amount of growth and they're probably only 3 or 4 years old. So that's a much better tree, even though it's smaller than this one. So I may cut this down anyhow. Similar situation with all these. Just been starved for light over their years, and up until recently they've been really suppressed. They will rebound when given light, but they're not going to grow to be any significant valuable tree, at least economically. All right, let's turn our attention to these birch, whether they be white or gray, but I'm pretty sure they're white just based on the bark. Looking up there, I'm still thinking I'm going to do the same, it's just falling this way. I did do a little bit of damage to the top of this cedar tree. I don't know if you can see it up there. There's some wood exposed.
but that's high enough up where it's already split anyhow, so the only good logs are going to be from just below that damage down. You can see the one next to it here has a split top, and that really influences or really retracts, takes away from the value of that cedar tree. So let's fell these guys this way, probably drag them out in a similar manner. I will probably take out all of these trees. Well, after thinking about this again, I changed my mind. I was going to drop it that away, have it rest in those trees, but those more likely to be damaged, and it's leaning that way anyhow. So what I think I'll do is, there's a dead cedar there and then 3 red maples. I'm going to lean it up against those, and instead of taking it out where I am, I'm going to set over there and squeeze it between some of those larger fir trees. And that'll make this other one here to the back of it easier to drag out too, because I can follow that over there, I think, in the clearing without hitting any other trees. So I got the notch cut. Let's do the back cut and watch it fall. So this one here did mostly as I thought. It did sort of go to the bit more to the right than I thought, so it is leaning up against that decent cedar tree. But hopefully when I drag it out, the tops of it will just brush it on its way down and not do any damage. This one here, it ended up in a good spot. I was thinking it was actually going to go that way, but after I cut the hinge off, it rotated that way and kept falling, rotated off that cedar tree and down there. So this is a dead, I think it's an old black cherry tree. So a bit of a challenge, because I have a fir tree there that when I drag that out, it is going to rub against that hard. There's a rock there. It might rub against the rock instead. This one should come out fine. But what I'm going to do here before I try anything, and this is a rock, is angle cut this stump a little bit so this will come up over it and not get hung up on the side of it like it is now. But I'll drag it out that way, so it probably will be okay. Maybe I won't do that. Talking myself out of it already. All right, so let's take down this dead, whatever it is, and hook up the cable through there. So I moved my tractor over to the right there, about 10 feet or so. Hooked up the cable, and we'll try to drag this one. Well, I'm not going to try. I'm going to drag this one down one way or the other. The only question is how much damage. One other tool we have at our disposal is rotation. So depending on how you hitch this, you can cause it to rotate. So I've hitched it over here, so instead of just pulling it straight back, what I'm hoping is it's going to rotate it this way a little bit. And what hopefully that will do is maybe keep it on those red maples and not fall into that cedar tree to the right. We shall see, and we will all see in a bit if that is successful or not. Well, from where I was back there on the other side of the tree line, I could not see what happened. It did come down over here, which is not what I was hoping. I was hoping it would sort of slide down the maples. But it doesn't look like it did too much damage or anything. I don't see any broken wood up there. So just about into the field. So what I'm going to do is I'll top it, cut it to 16-foot lengths, drag it out, and then we'll tackle this one here. Another change of plans. That seems to be my middle name. I don't know if that is intelligent adaptation or there's just, I don't know what I'm doing. But in any event, I've decided not to try to make the sharp turn out that way, but instead, got to get over that rock, is just out that way. I may sacrifice a couple of those saplings, but there's plenty of them, and they're all going to grow well with the light they have. And it might rub against this old fir a little bit, but I don't think it's going to do any damage. So that's my plan. I'll take this log, set it out there with the other ones, relocate my tractor over there, and that'll be more or less a straight pull for this one. So these are my next two targets. Popple. You can see my orange tractor out there in the field. Lay of the land, this is the very top of that birch that we just dragged out. That's the top of the birch that fell against the tree that I dragged out. So, I mean, we're in the same vicinity. So looking around here, again, trying to drop these trees without damaging, particularly cedar, decent cedar trees. And I do have a corridor there, and out there is my road. In fact, you can almost see it probably. It's about right there. But, so I could fell it this way and drag it out butt first into my road, but I have more cedar trees there. This is a little bit of a needle to thread, but I think I can drop it there and just brush some of the cedar branches on either side. It's quite a ways up before there's any big branches, which would be damaging on the way down. I'm going to take this one down, and I'm hoping then that this one here I can do the same thing to, although there is a big branch to the right that might damage there. So we'll take this one down. I may, well, like I've been doing, I may reassess when that one's down. Well, that was obviously not my plan. It almost worked. So before I mess with this one, I just want to get that one down on the ground as soon as possible. hopefully it can minimize any damage to those cedars that it's leaning on. Well, again, I couldn't see exactly what happened. Well, there's no major breaks. It looks like some branches came off, but it doesn't look like any career limiting damage. All right, let's top this off, cut up the tops, cut it to length, and then figure out what to do with this one. So here's my plan for this one. I had thought I would fell it the same way I did that one, but that's too small of a needle to thread. I do have an open area there. The thing is that red maple's in the way. It's a decent red maple. Perhaps you can see the scars where I had pruned that years ago and it's healed over. So it's a decent looking tree, nice straight stem without any branches for a ways up. But what I think I might do, and if I had to sacrifice that, it's not the end of the world, because my management plan actually says to remove all the red maple, all the gray birch from the cedar stand. So what I think I'm going to do is try to thread this needle. So that's a cherry tree there to the right, that red maple there to the left. I'm thinking if I can fell it that way, it might bend the red maple there to the left, fall down there, and then if it does hit the cherry tree, it'll just bounce off from it and fall harmlessly to the ground. Well, that's my grand plan anyhow, so it's got to work, right? We'll see. Well, when I went to pick up my camera, I noticed the battery had died. I have no idea when it died. If you were able to see the excitement of it falling or not. But if you didn't happen to see it, it actually did exactly as I was hoping. It couldn't have ended up any better. It's a broken branch up there. You can see it bounced off the red maple. There's a broken branch there. You probably can't see it. It's beyond the red maple on that cherry tree. Anyhow, it did bounce off those and it fell relatively harmlessly to the ground. My chance to redeem myself, and it might not have even recorded. Okay, that's in a good position to drag these two out together. I'll limb this up and we'll call it a wrap. It's always a bit of a guessing game how this is going to, what it's going to do when it hits the log. It may come over it, it may go out this way, get hung up on there. Sometimes what happens is it'll actually hit on this and then slide this chain off the end. Hopefully it doesn't do that, it just means another trip back here. But anyhow, we'll see what happens. It's always fun. The son of a gun, it did just that. Slipped the chain off, but it got hung up on this cedar. All right. So now I think what will happen is that bottom tree is going to want to come out. So I think it's going to slide out, being pulled here. This will drop to the ground. It should be past this cedar, so hopefully it doesn't catch there again. And they should both come out without any further difficulty. Well, except because these act like rails, even though I'm pulling that away, it wants to go straight because that's where the logs have made themselves a nice little channel in the snow. So rather than have the same issue there, I have two choices. One is I can disconnect and haul it out that way, or I can take the tractor and move it over there. I still have to disconnect, so the easiest thing is just to take it out there because it's already a nice clearing. So disconnect, reconnect. Well, I think that'll do it for an afternoon of fun. It is getting, sort of close to dusk. This was an after church before football sort of afternoon. So in real time, that was about 3 hours or so, and that's all I have to show for it. I'm glad my livelihood does not depend on this, and it's only for fun. I do have a lot of respect for those that do this for a living, and that's what keeps a roof over their head and food in their bellies. But for me, it's a labor of love, timber stand improvement, improving the value of the forest that I have, as well as generating some firewood to keep me warm in the winter. So this will do it. I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.